The following program is rated TVMA. This program may contain strong opinions, explicit language, and possible adult themes. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the Smoke Free Radio Network or its affiliates. This program is meant for mature adult audience. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
That was interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen, this evening, welcome to Vaping and the Mic. Running a little bit behind this evening, experiencing some of those absolutely wonderful audio technical difficulties, the ones that I think would probably drive anybody right up the wall. Again, welcome here. I'm Mike Peterson. Glad that you're able to join us. Even though I'm running like later than anything, I wanted to make sure to get on here and say, hey, it's been one hell of a week already. Started out this last weekend, and I want to touch base with this with our first, and well, is going to be our guest, probably for quite a bit of the show, Mr. Jay Hardesty, with Vapen Jays down in Alabama. I really wanted to be able to talk to him. I've got a couple of quick questions for him, and maybe if he can, he'll probably stick around for some of the show to be able to answer some questions about this last weekend and the Vapors Carnival down in Tennessee. I'll tell you what, if you give me one quick second, if everything else doesn't fall apart, I'm going to give him a quick call. Yeah, we're going to get him on the phone. Again, Jay Hardesty with Vapen Jays. Let me see if I can still make all of this happen. Looks like I'm still sitting here with some of the same technical, lovely difficulties. Hold on one moment. At some point in time, what I'm going to end up doing is probably end up just looking at all my technical equipment and throwing it right out the window.
Start your show now. Press 1 to hear important instructions.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
That is something that
Blog Talk
absolutely
Radio.
kills me. But right now I'm going to see if I can't get Jay on the phone.
Hello?
Jay!
What's up, man?
Oh my God, you can actually hear me. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Hardesty. Oh, that's such a nice thing to have happen. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Oh, good Lord. My apology for running extremely so far behind this evening. Technical difficulty is my middle name for the morning, or the evening, or all of it all together.
No problem, man.
Listen, do me a favor, folks. This is Jay Hardesty. He runs the store, if I'm not mistaken. The store is called Vapen Jays. And the e-liquid line that you have is the Amish Collection. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell me, if you would, tell me a little bit about your store.
So we just opened up the store on Halloween. We've had a e-liquid line for almost 3.5 years now. And it just got to a point where it made sense for us to open up a location and give back to the community and set standards correctly. So here we are.
In your store, do you find that you have, I don't know, I don't want to say a lot of middle-aged people, but do you personally find that you may have clients that are older or younger or like in their 30s? Or are you seeing a lot of older people coming and switching over?
We have a great deal of a diverse clientele. So because we are in a college town, we do see quite a few college students. But I think our demographic age-wise will be anywhere from 30 to 50.
Because that was one of the things that I noticed. And if you've got time, I really want to touch base on a couple of things. But it was one of the things that I noticed down at the expo, the Vapors Carnival, over the weekend, was that there seemed to be just a certain age level of people. I mean, I saw rangers from all over the place, but it struck me as being like 25 to 35, predominantly, is what I was watching walking by. Would you say that was true on your end as well?
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
And
I definitely noticed that as well in Chattanooga.
And it's odd because other expos that I've been to typically have a smattering across the board. Now, I don't know if these were people. I did hear, and I don't know if you can correct this or not, I did hear that they converted or gave out or had 200 or 275 different people take up vaping with new starter kits and left smoking behind.
Yeah, 275 was the magic number, or the final number.
That is outstanding. I was seriously
That's
glad to hear that.
that was more than the previous two shows combined.
Wow. All right, now that makes me question, do you think it was because of the location or because vaping is getting that much more traction as we go along?
I think it's a combination of both, and I also think it's the hidden factor of that Mark, Ronnie, and John went around to all the shops and spent a lot of time in the local area and throughout the state, trying to convert more and more people from smoking traditional to start vaping.
That sounds right. And it's one thing I did notice as well is they don't run your typical expo. Would you agree with that?
It's definitely not the typical, and the great thing about it is the focus. Their focus is converting more smokers to, potentially a life-saving industry.
And that's one of the things that I thought, to me personally, both as a juice maker, but also as somebody that is behind it, it's to me it was very nice to be able to see that they had an actual passion that was a little bit higher and a little bit different than some of the other expos that I've seen. And the other expos, I'm not faulting them for anything. Because when you get right down to it, an expo is a great way for a group of the vaping community, professionals and otherwise, to interface with the customers, with out-of-town people, I'm not going to say it's just a marketing tool, but it's a great way to introduce yourself to different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you, I'm bouncing all over the place, and I apologize, because normally I've got a sheet of standard questions that I would ask you. We have gone right from what I typically call easy street questions.
90
But then they got booted.
And that was the important part that I
Rightfully so.
really wanted to bring to the attention. And I apologize, my sound went in and out real quick. I was like, well, this isn't just not going to work. But it was one thing that the public may not have ever come to know or understand, was that there were people and a particular group within the Vapors Carnival, and they went together with the people that were running the expo, and they confronted this exhibitor, person and people that were selling some really shitty kind of juice. And they had them, they told them, they said, look, you can pack away everything except what the main product that you came in on. And if you do that, you can stay. And they said they were going to, and they never did. They continued to sell their e-liquid under the table to other people. And it's the kind of e-liquid that was wrongly labeled. It was just bad news across the board. But they continued to do it. And then they came back around and they found out they were still doing it. So they asked the entire setup, pack up your stuff and leave. And I found that was just amazing, for the sole fact that this was a group of people that were within our industry that was policing itself and taking it seriously. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean it's that mighty dollar, that greed, and that's what they seen, and they got dirty taste and wanted to keep getting it. So, I mean that's my personal view of it. If they wanted to be responsible about it and stay in focus what the carnival stands for, they would have never brought it.
No, they would not.
They brought
have.
it with malice intention. To try to get rid of a product that should not be out there.
And that's what got me. It was an amazing thing for me to be able to hear about that was happening, because it begins to show the public, look, we're not just sitting here and trying to create any kind of ill-begotten product. We are actually being proactive. And again, the group, the Vaping Legion, it was a massive part of that.
Yes.
And if it weren't for that group and the concerns of a couple other people, that company would still be there selling their stuff that they truly knew that they should not be. But it shows people that the vaping community is becoming much more proactive than it has been maybe a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, where this might have just been sliding along or something like that.
I mean, it was a catch crop system. Everybody was jump in, make as much as you can, and get out before they can't because of regulations. And for the companies that are out there doing it right from day one are the ones that suffer. But it's the cash grab companies that truly don't care about the industry. They're only in it for one reason only. And it's a sad gray area in our industry, because we need the regulation. We need the responsible companies to stay alive, because those are the ones that truly care about the vaping industry.
And those are the ones that those are the things that people don't see. The public hears about all of the small things that, let's face it, they hear about the guys that don't do well, the people that create the crappy labels. They hear about deceptive marketing. They hear about all these other things, and those are the ones that stick in people's brains. But it's something like this that happened at an expo that was done and run by an advocacy. See, now, if I say advocacy group, I'm going to have a bunch of guys just absolutely kicking me in the rear end. It is a bunch of activists in the Vaping Legion and other people that went and addressed and took care of this issue. So I call it kind of almost like in-house. That's what people in the public don't hear, that they need to understand and say, look, we're being proactive about this. Here, check this out. And I'm not sure that anybody else would have said anything, maybe to our friends or to the people that might come into your shop. But the outside world needs to hear stuff like that. Let me ask,
No, I mean,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I
was going to say is, I've been to many, many shows, and I can honestly say I've seen more vetted with the Vapors Carnival than I have in a lot of the shows previously. But now that's in the in the limelight. As far as behind the scenes, I can't speak for it because I do know that a lot of other shows vet a lot of products now versus, like you said several years ago when it wasn't so much cloud over the vaping industry. I mean, there's always been some cloud over us because of the obnoxious vapors and people just in it for the wrong reasons. But, it's when you're there and you see it and you're a business owner and you see it, it's finally touching home for everybody to, pretty much get your shit together and get out.
And that is something I wholeheartedly believe in, and I know that many other people do as well within the industry. Jay, do you have a few minutes yet that I can bug you for a couple of other things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I've got to stop since my technical prowess put me I don't know how far behind. I've got to stop and pay attention to our sponsors just for a minute, and then as soon as that's done, I want to come right back, and I've got a few other things that I want to talk to you about. So you don't mind hanging out for a minute?
No, absolutely. I'm here.
Fantastic. I'll be right back.
Hey now, this is Dimitri with Smoke Free Radio reminding you to please show some love to our wonderful sponsors. Without them, there would be no Smoke Free Radio, and they are as follows. All the way from Florida, Moon Mountain Vapor, with locations in Florida, and their liquid available for wholesale and retail, moonmountainvapor.com. Some of the best custards and tobaccos on the market from the Brickwills Vaping Company. The lovely Shell with a vapor bar, locations in Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. And of course online at thevaporbar.com. And who says you can't have award-winning e-liquid without cartoon characters? That's exactly what you're going to get at theplumeroom.com. And finally, of course, the Vaping Advocate magazine that has generously provided the telephone lines for you to communicate with us. Thank you for your support. And finally, for you, the listener, don't forget to check out the coupons and codes page on Smoke Free Radio. Pick up some e-liquid and save some money. From all of us here at Smoke Free Radio, thank you for your continued support.
All right, we've gotten that taken care of. Coming right back, ladies and gentlemen, we have Jay Hardesty with Vapen Jays and the Amish Collection. Just while it's on the top of my head, Jay, do you have an online presence or do you sell online?
Yes, so our website is vapenjays.com, VAPENJAYS.com.
Fantastic.
And then you can also find us on Facebook, Vapen Jays business page. We have a group. links to our website and everything.
Awesome, because I try to get that out to people, because I know that there were a lot of people that were even coming around and they were showing a lot of interest at the expo. But I want everybody to be able to go and check your stuff out and see what they might be able to pick up, and being able to do it online, especially since we're online and we're a radio show online, is kind of important. Jumping right back
Right,
to...
absolutely. I appreciate that.
Hey, absolutely. You know, this is the way that we can try to get some things done. Going back to the Vapors Carnival, and this is one of the things that I didn't know if people in the general public may or may not know, if they've never attended any kind of an expo like this. There's multiple things that are all going on at the same time. As an example, when they were to walk in the front door and they were to take a look, they're going to see just a ton of booths everywhere. I mean, the floor layout, and I think they had like 300 plus vendors at this particular expo. Does that sound about right?
It sounds about right.
So when the general public comes walking into this place and they see manufacturers of e-liquid, of hardware, of wire, of, oh my, you can talk about it, it's CBD products, and just almost anything that might hit in the vaping world, it's there somewhere, most of it. And that's just... Go ahead.
I mean, there's stuff there. I mean, there's individuals there from anywhere from beginner stage to the more advanced users, and an e-liquid for darn near every profile imaginable, for every different taste preference for any consumer available.
And that was one of the things that got me, because you're very, very correct. That's an awesome point, because I was looking at different juices from something very simplistic to the salt nicks to CBD and many things like that. It was incredible. But to some people, that might be overwhelming, and it looks like it is just one big shopping center, if I could put it that way. But there are other things that are really going on behind the scenes. And just like one of them was taking care of a vendor that was acting in a very non-professional, non-desirable kind of way. And that was taken care of. And I thought that the way that they handled that was just outstanding. But here's a couple of other things that I noticed that are happening during that point in time. There's 300 and some vendors that are all there, and all of us acting more or less as family, backing each other up, stopping and shaking hands, stopping and saying hello. Every morning I had vendors going by my own booth as they were getting ready to go to their booth, and they would stop and say hi and ask how things were going. Did we need any help? Did we need anything? And that might blow the doors off of some people.
I mean, it's another thing that a lot of people don't see too is most of us as business owners, we've done these shows with each other for several years, and you become a big, huge family. And you pass ideas and receive advice and give advice on different things that are helping. But the biggest thing is building those bridges between each other to keep this industry alive in the right ways.
I agree, because
there's a lot of love and family that become based from these conventions. What a lot of people don't realize. I mean, yes, at the end of the day, we're all competitors with each other, but without being competitors, we wouldn't survive.
No, none of us, I don't believe, would have any real capability. And for the general public, if they don't know, or people that are vaping and they're listening and they might not know, This is not just something that is there for the weekend where it's like a big giant hug fest and then we all go home and we're on opposite sides of the fence again. It's like you mentioned, this starts to become family to where if I needed something, I know that I can call a couple of people that would have information or be able to help me out, and they're going to. And it's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's hard to find another industry out there that is more helping and understanding than one of the newest industries on the market today.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that as well. People from all walks of life were in attendance at that expo, and I believe that they're at every expo that you would go to. We're talking about people that come in shorts, that come in ragged kind of pants, to people that actually came in almost in three-piece suits to stop and take a look around or to stop. So this isn't just a generalized market that people might think it's a counterculture kind of thing. This has become something that is attracting and hitting every walk of life. Everybody that makes that decision that they want to vape and not have any kind of combustible tobacco in their life anymore, it's getting to everybody, not just a few people.
I mean, it's every monetary class. Anybody that wants to, be proactive with, consciously having a better and living a better life. I mean, so it's exactly what you said, all walks of life. But, most importantly, it's anywhere from, your lower class to your upper class. Individuals that, for whatever reason, picked up combustible tobacco or even chewing tobacco and those sensations have swapped over to, be healthier for their children and their, many generations to come because, let's face it, nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to live longer.
It is the one aspect that is the underpinning of the entire vaping industry, is to get people off of any kind of combustible tobacco product. I'll never call us a nicotine replacement therapy because that's a piece of gum or a patch that you throw on. Ours is a whole change of life. It is something wholeheartedly different. There was another aspect that I found to be true in looking around. They had, and I know it, everyone, they have an advocacy panel that stands up on the stage, and they have different people that are up there speaking. And I know one of the biggest ones for me, I listened to everybody, and I wish that I had written all their names down so that I could tell them, but they had a lot of people. But the one that always stuck out in my brain over the weekend was Mr. David Goerlitz, the former Winston man. And listening to him, how passionate he became. And he wasn't, I actually spoke with him earlier today. He wasn't actually trying to say anything of shock value. He was trying to get people to understand where he was coming from and what he was saying and why. But watching the crowd react to what he was saying was amazing. But the advocacy panel, how do you feel about that goes on at a Vape Expo?
I mean, the great thing about the Vapors Carnival is they focus on advocacy. And in my personal opinion, again, this is my personal opinion, in some aspects they do it better than a lot of other shows. It's their main focus is educating and changing the minds of smokers and bringing awareness of what's going on in the industry and what's needed from consumer-wise and business-wise. I mean, that's their focus. Their focus is the longevity of the industry. And that's huge when you put that much emphasis on advocacy, because a lot of consumers are not aware of all the advocacy that goes in, that's entailed with this industry. They just think, oh yeah, somebody trying to raise some money or to get their way, but it's truly you know, advocacy is designed to help fight for the consumers, and that's what they focus on, and that's huge.
It is. It is an extremely big. I want to call it more than just a benefit. It is one of the driving factors that I found refreshing, if I can put it that way, compared to some of the other shows that go on. And every show has its own niche, its own venue, its own way of doing things. But the Vapors Carnival, it really took me back that they focus. And at the end of the show, when they said they have 270 some people that they gave starter kits out to get them to quit. It was not an individual booth that was doing this. It was not an individual group that was doing this. It was the people that put on the expo, making sure that that happened. That was just, to me, fantastic. It was amazing.
I mean, it's phenomenal that they're able to achieve what they're achieving, and breaking their own goals doing so. And I'm sure with the next venue that they bring up, I'm certain that we'll be there as well. And I'm certain we'll be a part of helping them break another record on trying to convert more and more to vaping versus traditional combustibles.
Yep, and that, I can't wait to see their next expo, because I personally want to be able to see and hear what kind of numbers they're achieving now. If they have doubled what they've done over 2 different expos, if they've doubled that in one, the next one ought to be just phenomenal. Now, you touched upon something that is near and dear, and I know not only to my heart, but yours as well, and it's advocacy. It's being able to reach out and get people moving and understanding and talking about vaping and what we are trying to achieve, which makes me stop and ask, do you believe that it is a good thing or a bad thing for a shop to belong to their state advocacy group?
It's very, very important for shops to be involved with their state advocacy. To me personally, if a shop has a state advocacy and they do not belong to it, they're being irresponsible. That's, again, my personal view.
And that's okay. But let me ask you, from your personal standpoint, why would they be irresponsible in doing what they're doing? And again, I know why, but I'm trying to get some other people maybe to think about. So why would it be deemed irresponsible?
I mean, there's a couple different factors. One being that, these advocacy groups are fighting for your legal right in your state to help fight, flavor bans and outrageous taxes, educating shops on the way to do things in the proper way versus in the wrong way that hurts the industry. And it's also, their responsibility to inform their customers of what's going on in the industry. And the easiest way to do that is if you have a state advocacy, they're going to inform you. So you use the information that you're given to help protect your industry. And, we're here for the long haul. We're not here for a short term.
Now, to help some people that are listening back that up just a little bit, New York had a threat of a complete flavor ban in New York, so that
Correct.
If that would have passed, shops would have only been able to sell tobacco-flavored e-liquid. Now,
Correct.
And that would have killed every shop that is out there. There is no doubt about it, because a shop cannot function just on selling tobacco-flavored e-liquid and hardware. like mods and tanks and coils and wire. So their state advocacy group, the New York State Vapors Association, actually got that flavor ban defeated. And that happened just earlier today with the closing session of lawmaking in New York. So when Jay is talking about having a state advocacy group that actually goes to bat and works for you, to me, that has got to be one of the biggest kinds of things out there. It's one of the biggest examples that I can think of. It's not to say that San Francisco and their flavor ban had, California is a rough state to go, and their state level advocacy, I know, had tried. But because of everything that New York had done, and the people up in New York and the New York State Vapors Association, they defeated that flavor ban legislation. And honestly, I don't think if there had been no state advocacy group, I don't think that would have happened. I think the flavor ban would have gone through. Would you agree?
I mean, it's a great possibility it would have, and there's still a possibility that it can. It's been stopped because it wasn't included in this voting session. But the reality is it's still out there and still can possibly happen. So the fight's not over. It's temporarily suspended, so there's a little bit of relief, but the fight's not over at all. And the great thing about New York's advocacy is they know that the fight's still there, and the more and more word they get out about their state advocacy, the more ammunition they have to fight it again. And maybe the next time that they fight it, it'll be a little easier because they have more backing.
And I would agree. And that's one of the things that I'm right there with you, is to say, people, it doesn't cost a lot, and it is what I believe to be one of the more fundamental important things, is to have the ability to say, yes, I belong to my state advocacy group. Now, I'm going to roll right from that right into one other one, and then we're probably going to end up wrapping up here shortly. Knowing that there are a few different national level, the Vapors VTA, the CASA, the SAFADA, and more than that, do you believe that it might be beneficial to have a single national organization, or do you believe that we need different ones as we do today?
It's I'm one of those, I'm torn between that, because if you had one organized main group, kind of like the NRA, that could be a powerful tool for us in the vaping industry. The problem is you have, I hate to say it like this, but you have big heads that some groups think that they can do it better than others. In all reality, we all need to come together and fight, essentially together for the same end result. You'll always have, you could do small chapters, small state chapters in one big organization, and it all works together. Ideally, that would be the greatest thing for the vaping industry. But it's that big head mentality where you have, individual groups that think they're better than the others, and in all reality, we need everybody to come together and be as one.
I would wholeheartedly agree. Just for a quick thing, starting to wrap up here real quick, and I seriously appreciate you taking my late call and sticking with me as long as you have. Looking at the FDA has the ANPRM. It basically, they are asking for comments about how flavors have helped people transition, or how flavors are important in the vaping industry. Right now, and I'm looking at their website as we're at this right now, there are 384,402 comments have been received. How does that in particular piece of information affect you?
I mean, that's huge. Especially from a brand. I mean, it's, flavors of what, let me back up a little bit. So, a lot of people don't realize back, 30, 40 years ago, when you'd go to the doctor and they would say, I want to quit smoking, and the doctor would say, all right, eat a piece of candy, keep candy in your pocket. So every time you have a craving for a cigarette, here's your device, here's your vice, here's a piece of candy, either peppermint or butterscotch or any type of candy. So flavors themselves have been a huge factor to be that vice for individuals to get away from traditional cigarettes. So it's the commenting period is very essential for the flavors that everybody loves so much to get off of the traditional and, essentially get off vaping as a whole as well, because, the end result is you get off the combustibles, you work your nicotine levels down, and then you get off vaping. I mean, it's do I want to see every customer in my shop continue vaping for the rest of their lives? If it fits them, yes. But I want to see more and more that want to switch from combustibles to vaping and eventually get off of all of it. I mean, because the end result is a healthier life. But in my honest opinion, I think the only way that's going to happen is the variety of different flavors that are out there, because a lot of people cannot stop with traditional tobacco flavors.
No, between that and when people try to stop with just their standard, what they call NRT, nicotine replacement therapy, and by that, folks, we are talking about a patch or gum or some other small item like that. The attempt and failure rate with just NRT products is amazingly high, that people continue to smoke. They try the gum or they try the patch and it doesn't work, and they screw it and they go back to smoking. And yet when people pick up vaping and they realize not only does it have a satisfactory nicotine level for what they want to achieve, and shop owners tell people, they walk through different nicotine levels, different things that they can do, different hardware, but not only is it satisfactory for them, but then And this is one of the things that they had found on the Smoke Free Radio with Dimitri, was that it had turned around and people start with a flavored tobacco and then they move to flavors of fruit and dessert flavors and things like that. And then some of them actually, like you mentioned, they do just drop off and stop vaping altogether. And then that is, to me, the biggest thing. It's just, flavors are one of the biggest things that help the industry move along. And later on, I'll make sure that I post on how to get to the FDA's ANPRM. But being able to see that kind of number and knowing that we have, I want to say, a short period of time. The initial deadline was the 19th of June, and my understanding is they gave a 30-day extension past that. The VTA and some other people were responsible for that. So, folks, when you get a chance,
that was my understanding as well.
Yep, and people need just to continue giving their comment. And here again, folks, when you do, all you need to do is tell them what kind of flavor, how it helped you. Just be yourself. Try not to use any kind of coarse or foul language. One guy dropped the F-bomb all over the place. You know that comment is going to be looked at with disfavor. It's not going to be an accepted kind of thing. But be yourself. Be polite. be genuine. Just tell your story when you go there to the government, and you click on comment, leave your comment, talk about how the flavor helped you.
I mean, it's like leaving a report when you're in high school. You know, use your common sense.
Right. One more quick question before I ask you my absolute the WTF question. If you were talking with someone that was just thinking about, for the first time, trying a vapor product, what might you say to them to help them decide whether it was a product that they would want to try or not? What might you tell them?
I mean, it's so I do it differently than some. I ask the consumer a lot of questions. I ask them what kind of cigarettes they smoke, if they smoke cigars. I ask them the frequency that they use them. Are they able to use the product while they're at work? So I get enough information from them that helps me guide them in the right direction. Because life happens, and you never want to see anybody make an uneducated purchase, because you'll never see that consumer back, because they'll feel like that, they got shafted in a sense. So
Right.
it's different for every consumer, but it's
Nope, it is one of those things that when you find a personal way to get it done, and it works for you, that's one of the best things. And
yeah, it's because more and more people have tried somebody, and they'll tell you what they want or what they don't want. But the biggest thing is finding something that makes sense for them at the time, to introduce them to vaping, but at a minimal cost, until they get to a point where they're going to be fully invested. Because there's so many consumers out there that start vaping, that buy a product that has complications or it's too difficult for them to use. So it's most customers want simplicity, something that's easy for them. As simple as changing a pod, or the simplicity from changing a coil to adding liquid to, I'm in the South, so a lot of tanks with humidity, there's gonna be some seepage. So trying to find the appropriate devices based off of their environments that they would vape at is a key factor for me.
that's something that I hadn't really thought of, but that's a huge kind of point. Well, Jay, I'm going to start to wrap up here. I'm going to move right into what I call it's WTF time. One, I started asking people some odd questions just to make them laugh. But one has actually turned into a poll. And our poll question is, if there was a cloud comp between Snoop Dogg and Steven Tyler, who do you think would win?
I mean, come on, everybody knows Snoop would win that.
I'm going to keep track of this, folks, and as we go along, I'm definitely going to post up. We'll do it for like 10 weeks straight, and then we'll find out a percentage of things that people are thinking. The second one, and it's more of an open-ended question, because I just saw a piece of news that came floating across the other day. If President Trump were to turn around and come out with a new fidget spinner device, what would he call it?
Man.
I turned around and I thought about that, and let's make America great again, or something, It's just.
I mean, it would. No, I think he would make it. Let's make America fun again.
There you go. There you go. Oh, folks, this on the phone right now is, again, Jay Hardesty with Vapen Jays, and he carries the Amish Collection. Jay, seriously, I appreciate your time being with me this evening. If you would, tell people again how they can go online and check you out.
Everybody can go to our website. It's www.vapenjays, and that's VAPENJAYS.com. We carry a large variety of hardware and e-liquids. And if there's anything that we do not carry and we have consumers that are interested, then they can send us the email, and if it's available and we can get it for them, we will try to do so.
Fantastic. Jay, I appreciate your time again. Was great seeing you over the weekend, and I'm looking forward very seriously to catching up with you again at the next expo, or if I'm down in the South. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Hardesty. Jay, I hope that you have a great night.
Thank you, Mike. It was my pleasure, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Hardesty. Had the chance to be able to spend a little bit of time talking with him at the expo, and just an all-around fantastic kind of guy, full of knowledge, and he is as genuine as what you see. The picture that I put up here earlier with him, that's his backdrop in his expo booth. It's just all around fantastic guy. All right, my apology for running late now, but even more so for having such technical difficulty. I appreciate everybody joining me this evening on Vaping and the Mic. Quick one that I want to throw in here. I've been able to talk with a guy. This one might surprise you just a little bit. I know it did me. Another guy that I've been speaking with, July 5th, the show for July 5th is going to feature Mr. David Goerlitz, the former Winston man. We're going to spend an hour or a little bit with him on July 5th. You want to talk about a guy that has a lot of very, very serious insight, and he calls himself an activist and much more. But on July 5th, we're going to take the time. We're going to have an hour, maybe a little bit more, again with David Goerlitz, and I'm looking forward to that at 7 p.m. on July 5th. Next week, we're going to have another guest and talk to someone else in another shop. This evening, it was Jay Hardesty. Folks, I appreciate you taking time to check me out. Again, my name's Mike Peterson, Vaping in the Mic. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next week. And hopefully we just won't have this kind of poor start to our evening. Until next week, folks.